Welcome to Buildings and Beyond,
the podcast that explores how we can create a more sustainable built environment
by focusing on efficiency, accessibility, and health. Hi, it's Kelly Westby. I'm not sure if you heard our episode from a few weeks ago, but Chef Chris left us with a cliffhanger. He spoke about a future where chefs are driving the conversation about kitchen sustainability, going above and beyond the code minimums, and he talked about a new rating system and certification program he's been working on called EcoChef. So we knew we needed to have a follow-up conversation to get a little bit more information about this rating system. As we air this episode, on September 17th, Chef Chris Galarza is at the Net Zero Conference in Anaheim, California to announce more information about this program, and he wanted to make sure our listeners around the globe had access to the inside scoop as well. Speaking of great content and popular conferences, I need to tell you about our episode sponsor. This episode is sponsored by the Passive House Accelerator. I'd like to encourage you all to check out Passive House Accelerator. It is an online community and media company dedicated to accelerating the transition to clean, resilient, zero-carbon buildings. Among many things, the Passive House Accelerator hosts live online educational gatherings, puts out YouTube videos, publishes a magazine twice a year, hosts the Reimagine Buildings Conference series, and even has their own podcast. If you want to learn more, please visit passivehouseaccelerator.com. If you missed it, we encourage you to listen to the last episode to hear Chef Chris and Chef Duke's background, as well as where the industry and technology are today for more sustainable, energy-efficient, low-carbon commercial kitchens, and to hear about making kitchens healthier and safer for the people that work in them. Today's conversation, we have Chef Christopher Galarza and Chef Duke Gastiger back on to talk about EcoChef. EcoChef is the first electric kitchen rating system and certification program, with a goal to standardize how commercial kitchens are designed, built, and operated. We get into a lot of specifics in the episode, so we're just going to dive right in. Chef Chris, I want to do a deep dive on your new certification program, sure. EcoChef.
Yeah.
So first tell me, what is the birthplace of this certification program? Why does the industry need another certification?
Great question. So I feel like this is a running theme with everything that I do, totally by accident. So actually what happened was my business partner, Gerard, and I, we were sitting down, we were talking and getting ready for the Green Build Conference, which is the conference in which all of this kind of springboarded from, right? This is where I met the client from Pennsylvania, Heidi, who's just an amazing person. It's where I finally got to meet some of the folks I've connected with online, as because at the time we were still writing the Building Decarbonization Guide with the William J. Worthen Foundation, which, if you haven't heard, totally free resource, the most comprehensive guide ever written on the subject of building decarbonization holistically, like genuinely, from kitchens to the whole building to embodied carbon. It's fantastic. But yeah, so we were talking as we were getting ready to go out to the conference and figuring out, the future. What could this lead to? What are we doing with this company? What, all of these things, our hopes, our dreams. And then Gerard asked, what sort of standards exist that maybe we can kind of help change a little bit or kind of make it, really work as opposed to just kind of being not as effective. And we kind of came up with
a guidance. You can consult on an individual project, but what's the guide?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the answer was there was none, right? Lead and Well, they do have things on kitchens, absolutely, and but there's nothing that's focused on the kitchen. And I think
it's sort of a side project of these larger certifications.
And we still believe today, hospitality will be the most difficult sector to decarbonize. So how are we going to tackle this? So
hospitals might fight you on that, but we'll go with one of the top 5.
Fair point. They don't listen, do they? So one of, we'll say. So then he asked the question that kind of led us down all this path. He's like, why don't we make one?
Yeah.
And then we sat there for a second and we were like, yeah, why don't we? What's stopping us? So I had just connected with a gentleman by the name of John Harrison, who is an architect by trade, who worked, with Methuen, worked with Starbucks, did all these incredible things, and was a really early adopter of LEED. So we connected through some really funny circumstances. His mother-in-law is actually the editor of a gastronomic society's newsletter, or kind of news magazine, newspaper, newsletter, I think magazine, in which I was featured in. So he got an early copy before it came out. He and I connected online. We planned to meet, and then after that, Jordan and I had this kind of epiphany, like, why don't we? And then I met with John for the first time at the Greenbuild conference, and I was like, hey, why don't we? And he said, we can. And that's how this whole thing started. So we've been quietly working on it for going on 3 years now. October will be 3 years. And I think we have a really solid program here. I think what we've done is we've demystified kitchen electrification, demystified hospitality decarbonization. We've created goals that folks can reach. We've created on-ramps. We've created education, certification, accreditation. We've kind of demystified the whole thing. And so I guess I can walk you through the whole program. That's okay.
Yeah.
So it starts with the on-ramp. Right? The on-ramp is the EcoChef Ambassador Program. For one flat fee, we can go in and do a training where it's like a 90-minute PowerPoint, and folks will understand how all of this works, right? From design to policy to hospitality and everything in between. They will then get a certificate saying, hey, thanks for being a part of this. And if they so choose to, they can then use that certificate to get 10% off the professional accreditation. And that goes into the next level, which is the the EcoChef Associate, Culinarian, and Practitioner certification levels. The EcoChef Associate is tied to that 13-week course I told you about. It's more for those students who are coming into this and trying to understand where their place is, how does this all work with, what their values are with sustainability, and what their career is going to be demanding of them, and how to bridge that. And again, that's hospitality. The course was created, and the certification was created for, architectural students, engineering students, policy students, political science, sustainability students, hospitality as well, and everyone in between. And then the next one is EcoChef Culinarian. Now, EcoChef Culinarian is more of a condensed course, the 4-week course. It's designed like ServSafe would, and anyone who's in the industry would know what that means. It's just a 4-week crash course on sustainable hospitality. What is the technology? How does it work with your operations? How can you maximize it? And how can you benefit from it? At the end of that course, you will then get EcoChef Culinarian accreditation. So you'll be, Chef Duke Gastiger, ECC, EcoChef Culinarian, right? And that's very much in line with our industry standard, CEC, Certified Executive Chef, CMC, Certified Master Chef, very much in line with that. And then you have the ECP, the EcoChef Practitioners. Those are folks who are in the industry, they know what they're talking about, they're seasoned pros, and they can really dive deep into our system. How can they use this in their design, in the implementation of it all? And additionally, if you get the ECP, you will be able to open up an additional revenue stream where you'll be able to do the submittals for EcoChef. So when you're working on your project, you will, if you're the lead architect on the project, you will be able to say, hey, we're going after this certification, handle all the submittals, we get everything, we verify, we work with you, and you can charge for that, right? As opposed to paying someone from EcoChef to go out and do the site visit and all that stuff, we will get all the information we need and kind of streamline the process. What we're trying to do with this whole thing is put sustainability on easy mode, right? And that leads to the next level, which is certifying the equipment. We expect that to be further down the line, but that is a goal of ours. And finally, on top is the certification of the kitchens themselves. We have set ambitious goals for folks, but also they're fair, right? So we're asking that folks, at least 100% electrification is not in the cards for a lot of people. We understand that. So what we're asking for is 50% of the cook line, right? Your steamers, your fryers, whatever you want to do, right? If only half of that, that's your baseline. And then we're asking that you also sub-meter that kitchen, and there's some cost-effective ways that we can do that. Then what we will do is take this data, benchmark it, so we can then get clean data that we can use to create white papers, case studies that are going to live free of charge on our website. So now people always ask me, do you have any case studies you can share? Case studies are the holy grail of this conversation, right? Everyone wants case studies. Now we're developing a system that can get them to us automatically. And then again, we demystified all of that. What is the idle rates of the equipment that we're looking for? What is the efficiency rates that we're looking for? Eventually, we're going to have water consumption rates. So the certification is built off a few pillars: waste, health and comfort, performance, and energy efficiency. There's also an innovation category in there as well. But you go through, the standards are written really clearly. You don't have to be a lawyer to understand it. This is what we need. How do you show compliancy? Boom, there it is. It's very, very simple to understand, and it's designed to be very familiar to those who are already going through it, if you've been through LEED certifications. So that is EcoChef in a nutshell.
Okay. So 4 layers of educational kind of certification for individual people. Mm-hmm. Then there's the equipment, which is to be launched in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we're ready to go when they are, but we feel as though the manufacturers might need some time to kind of adopt.
Okay. And then there's certifying the whole kitchen.
Correct. Yeah. So okay, fantastic. Now, by the time this episode goes out, we would have had our first pilot done. Duke is going to be next.
Okay, number 2. I like it.
Yeah, but we are. So the kitchen we're certifying at the moment is Chatham. I thought it was only fitting that the place that sparked all of this,
the birthplace,
exactly. That we go back and we get that kitchen certified. We'll be the first kitchen in the world to be certified. And
what happened? What had to be changed in order for? I mean, last we talked, that was like the symbol of sustainability in commercial kitchen. So did anything have to be changed there to comply with your current best thinking that's built into EcoChef?
At the moment of recording, we are currently going through that. So ask me in a few months.
All right. We'll have a add on to the back part
so
of this episode.
as of this recording, we're in pilot. The EcoChef will go live January 2025.
Fantastic.
So what's exciting about EcoChef is that we are partnering with some pretty incredible pretty incredible people rather. The EPA being one of them. We are an Energy Star partner. That was pretty surreal to get. More importantly, and this is what's really exciting, is that for the EcoChef Culinarian specifically, we are partnered with the American Culinary Federation, the ACF, which means for the first time in their 95-year history, they are allowing an outside company to certify their chefs that they will recognize, right? So, that is a huge deal. That is just a testament to how important sustainability is to the hospitality industry, that the governing body of chefs, for all intents and purposes, realizes this is something that needs to be understood by the industry if we're going to grow, if we're going to move forward, if we're going to thrive, not just survive. To take a quote from my partner Gerard there, and that they also are recognizing we're not experts in this, right? So let's partner with a chef. Let's partner with folks who are, and we're just lucky that we were able to connect. And so it's really, really exciting. So our education partner is going to be Chatham, which is even better. So, which means that you will be able to take these courses through the university. You will also, if you are, say, not enrolled as a Chatham student, and you're, say, with the ACF wanting to take the ECC certification, you'll be able to just log on, create and take the course remotely at your leisure, at your pace. And then once completed, you will get a diploma. You will get everything. Again, that EcoChef Ambassador program gets you 10% off. So if, say, you are spitballing here, the Ritz-Carlton, and you're not sure if this is where you want to go, but you think it's interesting enough to get your chefs onboarded. So we will come in, we will do this, this ambassador program, and then all those chefs that just went through it is now going to get 10% off their certification, which is essentially means that class is more than paid for itself, right? So it's all about creating value proposition. And this isn't launching day one, but I am going to be saying that we are working to develop a way to capture analytics in a way that the industry hasn't seen before, at least as far as certification companies. Sorry, let me back up. As a culinary student, my professor always told us there is 1 million people trying to open up restaurants. There's 1 million people trying to do what you're doing. What is your D&B? What is your different and better? And I tried to approach everything I do with that mindset. What is going to set us apart from the competition? And there are lots of certification companies. So why should you get EcoChef's certification? There's LEED, there's WELL, there's BREEAM. We just talked about a bunch of them, right? There's Passive House, there's ILFI. So what makes EcoChef special is that we are going to be eventually offering a way to capture analytics in a way that's never been done before. And we'll be able to create sustainability reporting, give people more insights so they can see water consumption in real time, preventative maintenance, so they can see, hey, compressor number one, the compressor in cooler one is acting a little funny. We've seen historical data shows that in about 4 months, this is going to be an issue. We can send this report to your maintenance team, and they can order the part and get it fixed in time. So now instead of paying for maintenance folks to come in, diagnose the problem, go back, order the part, then come back again and then install it, you now have them coming out once, right?
So you're really thinking like further down the line, how can you think bigger about the commercial kitchen within the building?
Yeah.
And I think it sounds like, yes, there's a lot of certifications, and yes, a commercial kitchen can be part of a larger certification of some other program.
Right.
But there are so many specifics to how you have to electrify, to the kinds of equipment you're going to use that are specific to a commercial kitchen, that you need something much more tailored.
Correct.
And I think, you've talked about there's, an order of magnitude more energy used in the kitchen than in the rest of the commercial building. And oftentimes the kitchen is a component of a school, a component of a campus. Sometimes it's standalone, but that you need the sub-metering to really tell what that particular kitchen is doing. And
Absolutely.
So your certification sets us up as an industry to be able to address that really heavy user
Exactly.
in the future.
Yeah, I mean, because if you just look down the pike just a little bit, you'll see that New York specifically is making a lot of strides to electrify, a lot of strides to decarbonize. The New York One policy, the NYC One policy, that's where local law 97 and 154 and all these different local laws that they're enacting to reduce the carbon emissions of the city, by their own metrics, show that they're going to be 20% short. They're going to by 2050 they'll be 80%. And I believe that they're going to start looking to see where else can we start to make up that. And then they're going to realize we've been exempting commercial kitchens from every single thing we're doing. So how do we make sure that we're prepared to have that conversation? And that's what we believe that we're trying to do here, is to give people the tools to look at the kitchen holistically as not just another kitchen to slap in a building, but how does it work in the broader context of the building? How does it work with the strategy of the city, the strategy of the state, the strategy of the country? And how can we begin to make decisions that aren't going to negatively impact chefs, that is going to actually improve their day-to-day operations, improve how their culinary ecosystem, and improve their lives behind the line.
And you talked about. Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
If I said I interject just for a minute, and I heard Chris use that dirty M word, maintenance. My problem that we have here in central Pennsylvania is we had this wonderful equipment. When I had gas stoves, I used to be able to fix them with a roll of duct tape and a hammer. I mean that's basically what you needed to fix gas equipment. Now the technician comes to evaluate the efficiency of the induction equipment with the computer, when he logs on computer, and unfortunately this technician has to come from Philadelphia to central Pennsylvania. There aren't the technicians to work with this equipment. So I encourage Chris, and when he's talked about certification, he needs to collaborate with somebody that's with these equipment companies to make sure that they have enough qualified, certified technicians in the field before we start flooding these commercial kitchens with this great equipment. So that's a biggie.
Yeah.
That's a problem across the board in terms of buildings. Technicians, in terms of new entrants to the workforce, huge problem in general. And then the fact that, now every piece of equipment is a computer.
Right.
That's a whole different skill set that we're talking about.
Yeah, and I'll also add there that I think if there's any folks who are listening who is an entrepreneur, like this is a huge low-hanging fruit, right?
Oh boy, is it ever.
But that's also part of the broader conversation of the Green Industrial Revolution. So why I wrote the book, why I titled the book that, why I titled the courses that, is because there is a organic economic system being born, right? It is not something that is being designed by anybody. It's just people that are realizing that where they spend their money affects more change versus who they vote for every 4 years. And that they want to spend their money with companies, with brands, with products that reflect their values, right? This isn't a hippie concept, right? Think of fair trade coffee. People are happy to pay a little bit more for coffee to make sure that those farmers are getting what they deserve. Now, if we think about that as an industry, and we tell folks, people are complaining that chefs aren't, or people are in the kitchen aren't making enough money, but then not understanding why prices are going up, that's an education problem, right? So by getting this information out there and then beginning to understand how our consumers are thinking and how to leverage that, so we as an industry can be able to afford these changes, be able to offer better pays, better incentives, better equipment, better ecosystem, better ingredients, and pay our local farmers what they deserve, pay our staff what they deserve, and having a seal of approval at the restaurant door. You don't have to know what EcoChef stands for. As a consumer walking past, I don't know what that is, but I know it has something to do with the environment, has something to do that they're doing something good, and I want to support this business. And then as they go in, they get educated, right? Education is going to be how we move the needle, not just with the industry, but also with our consumers. Because without our consumers, without our guests, we don't exist, right? People make a dining decision. They work really hard for their money, and if they're going to be paying more for products to make sure that we're meeting their demand, we're trying to meet their values where they are, then we need to get them to where we are. We need to get them to understand these decisions, and then that's how we begin to move that needle.
If you're going to put value in something, and then you need the consumer to also value that thing.
Correct.
Because the consumers are the ones that are paying your salaries and paying the salaries of the people that work for you. And I think that's a great component. Of what you talk about, which is like, ultimately this has to function. Our sustainability network has to function within the economy and the economic system. And we all need to figure out a way to educate or illuminate the value that we're bringing from sustainability.
I'm so glad you said that, because I tell folks all the time that this is capitalism finding the solutions for today's world, right? This isn't, again, so sorry to bring it up, but like politics can be pretty divisive, but if, that's why I'm centering it around economics, because that's how we as a country, we as a world work. And to understand that this is a way for folks to be able to make money while also solving our problems, and be able to make sure that maybe being a cook isn't something you need to have 2 or 3 jobs to afford rent with, right? Something you can have a career and buy a home with, and start, and maybe we can rebuild from the bottom up, right? So so this economic system that we're seeing growing around the world. I'm not the first one to write about this. There's lots of books on Amazon about it, right? The only reason I wrote the book is because I wanted to center it around the hospitality industry, And I think that those other books are they're great. They're textbooks, but they're great. Go read them. But what we have done is really hyper focused, and what we're hoping, and why the subtitle is an interdisciplinary look at the hospitality industry, is so that as this is one of the most difficult sectors to decarbonize, what can other industries, other sectors, other disciplines, what can they learn from the hospitality industry and the struggles that we're going to go through to get to where we need to be?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's a huge topic.
Yeah, just to it really sets you up for a lot of opportunity in your future career, Chef Chris.
I hope.
And
I mean, I hope to be able to hire people and be able to really contribute in a big way. But more importantly, to give people the tools, because we live in a country where, and again, I swear this is gonna be the title of my memoirs.
Your next book.
My next book, yeah. But like, we should be thriving as an industry, not just surviving. And right now, many folks are just trying to survive. And we shouldn't. We should be doing a lot better than that.
And are you seeing, Chef Duke, are you seeing the people that come to your cafe? You've talked about refarm, regenerative. These sustainability is built into the foundation of what you're trying to do there. You've been open and operating for, I think you said, about 5 years.
5 years.
For this particular restaurant that you've had. How is it being received by the community? Are people valuing that? What are they valuing? What are they seeing when they come?
So, I think our whole tenet here is about connections. So we value connections, from reminding people where their food comes from. So to give them that experience of seeing their food, how it's prepared, but also the connections that they have with each other, that we try to break down some of those barriers that lots of communities are facing nowadays. So I think our customers are not unlike anybody else in the country. They want to be treated with respect, and the way that you treat restaurant customers with respect is not only in your approach to service, but also that you respect the food that you prepare for them and how it's prepared. That is what we do better than a lot of people. And I think what's going to save, the fine dining restaurants around the country is getting back to that respecting the food, respecting their customer. And that's easier said than done. It is, it's that whole value, the V word that you threw around quite a bit is value. That perception of value is so important, and we have to explain as clinicians why our broccoli is better than the local Wegmans, not to use a term,
the local grocery store.
Yeah,
the microwavable, seamable bag.
Yes.
And no, those are fresh frozen, right? They're fine.
And that's the that challenge that we have is to explain what value is. As simple as that sounds, I think that we have to re-educate our communities of what value in food is in health.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely that's spot on, right? Everything we do is about treating not only our guests but every ingredient with respect. And although I don't work in a kitchen day to day anymore, the same principles apply here, right? I don't just want to walk into a project and go, cool, how much money can I make off of this, right? I want to go, how can I make sure that this kitchen is going to be here for the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 years is done right? Because the old adage of do it right or do it twice is true. And I don't want anybody to ever work with me and have to come back and have to redo their kitchen, right? So we thought long and hard as to who we're going to be, like who this program is for, and how can they get the most out of it, which is why it's so broad, because we're hoping to get this into the hands of architects and their clients. We're hoping to get this into universities and culinary schools. We're hoping to get this into trade schools. We're hoping to get this into professional organizations like the ACF, hopefully one day the AIA and other organizations like that, FCSI. We're hoping that we can begin to offer the ambassadors program to all of them, including utilities, and get this education down to the consumer level. Because if they understand what's going on, they'll be understanding when those chefs start to implement that, right? They can because it's a dialogue, right? Food is a dialogue. Someone said recently at a conference I was at that I thought was just absolutely brilliant, and that's food succeeds where language fails.
Always has.
Yep. And I think we need to take that through line all the way through. If food is going to be the art, the vessel in which that it succeeds, where language fails, our design, how we think through the implementation of all of the building systems, the education, and not just say, we're going to enact a law and call it a day. No, like we need to, the entire supply chain of people that's going to take to make this change happen needs to evolve and needs to get educated. And we've thought, again, really long and hard about that. And that's why the EcoChef system as it launches is going to be as expansive as it is, because it's the only way we could do it right the first time and not have to come back and do it twice.
So speaking of right the first time, and speaking of sort of the foundation of education that's built into your EcoChef program, I'm curious, through developing the program over the last 3 years, what is something that you learned or changed your mind on?
I used to be really irritated with my professors. Now I understand how hard it is. So it is really, really hard to get education put together, is to take the totality of information out there in the world and distill it down to what is the most pertinent, right? What is the most important. I learned a lot about academia and how to craft a narrative and how to craft education. And that's, to me, I will probably never go into education myself. But I mean, I can't say never, who knows? But it is something that I now have a profound respect for. And after talking with experts in architecture and engineering and all those folks to really get an understanding as to how we should tackle this for their students, it became evident that there's a lot that we can learn from each other.
Fantastic. That's a wonderful note to end on. So I think we'll wrap it up there for today. Thank you so much, Chef Chris and Chef Duke, for being on the podcast.
You're welcome.
This
really
was
appreciate
an excellent conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Buildings and Beyond. This podcast is produced by Stephen Winter Associates. We make buildings perform better for all the people who work, live, and play in them, and better for future generations. We are so grateful for our guests, Chef Christopher Galarza and Chef Duke Gastiger. Thank you also to our podcast team, Rob Aldridge, Dylan Martello, Ian Slackus, Trisha Carr, and Heather Breslin. If you want to hear more about Chef Chris's rating system and certification program, EcoChef, you can check it out at ecochef.org. And if you missed last month's episode, please don't forget to go back and listen to that. We hope you have an awesome month, and we look forward to you listening again next month.